satisfy I don't regard individual security. That is the reason I do the hotly debated issue. So reversal is a fair game yet with you on this digital broadcast. What else you will bring the web recording? Clearly you know loads of superstars. It seems like Wendy Williams is at last prepared to impart the idea of medical services to the world. And folks, you won't ever accept what the pained television duvet needs to say regarding her new hospitalization. Obviously, Wendy had caused herself problems, and there were sure people who needed to wipe out the media character for the things she had done to them in the past. Greetings, everybody, and welcome back to Celeb Live Station. So it's anything but a mysterious that Wendy Williams' well-being has been concerning every one of her fans. And on second thought of a hotly anticipated rebound, the previous television have wound up on an emergency clinic bed, with her child guaranteeing that she could die any second, and keeping in mind that if first it was accounted for that Wendy's well-being was declining, a direct result of pressure and a lot of problems she had been fighting starting from the earliest days of recorded history. As a matter of fact, there are a few figures in the business who could play had a huge impact in Wendy's present status. In light of the fact that over the numerous years on daytime television, she has gotten her a ton of foes who wish her evil, I might want to say thanks to Wendy Williams for carrying that to the majority since she didn't need to go on the radio. And say that well, in 2006 Wendy, uncovered on her radio, had been determined to have bosom malignant growth, in spite of the way that the rapper and his better half needed to keep that data hidden. Following Williams' on-air disclosure, Strategy Man showed up on the breakdown where he got down on the television diva for outing his family's confidential data. Yet their theatrics didn't end here, as it was uncovered numerous years after the fact that Wendy had one end table with Technique Man. Evidently, nobody was prepared for this caring disclosures, particularly the rapper and his better half, who trusted that this Wendy Williams dramatization is finished, and they could keep carrying on with their lives in harmony anyway. Wendy has been the one to hold her tongue, and regardless of whether unintentionally, she, at the end of the day, expressed about her passing undertaking with this fellow, and excuse me with Strategy Man well, I gave him a shower. And it was a casual hookup, the discussion about Strategy Man betraying his better half that essentially all ladies imaginable, including the specialist who had been treating Tamika's disease, have been flowing for quite a long time, yet for reasons unknown. It was just Wendy, the rapper, was very furious with realizing how much belief the television diva was Technique Man, couldn't resist the opportunity to undermine the media character for opening her mouth and spreading her detestable allegations. Do it, Wendy, yet me. I won't do it verbally. I won't come on your little show and attempt embark on you, well, assuming that you feel that there's just a single individual being furious with the television diva, and presumably wanting her evil and believing that her should be quieted perpetually. Lock in on the grounds that you haven't heard the juiciest piece of the story. Evidently, there's a plot between a few celebs to cause Wendy to vanish everlastingly, since she's been making a problem for simply acting naturally, and discussing the obscure privileged insights that high-profile big names keep their still extremely irate at me. Yet what I don't be aware for being me for coming clean, besides Strategy Man and Tamika, there is another notable individual who might have been focusing on Wendy for a really long time, trusting that the right second will take the greatest blowits. In all honesty, Scandalous Music, Vague Shot C and Diddy Combs, who has his own set of experiences of problem with a television DV, Diddy's private inclinations are somewhat not so very much kept nowadays. And I made a ton of recordings about Diddy's potential male accomplices. Yet back in the days, Wendy Williams was the principal individual to at any point freely recommend something like this about the strong maker, misleading, closeted, closeted man. And it appears as though he was trusting that the second will rebuff the television half for opening her mouth and beginning the entire discussion about his closeted nature, in light of the fact that in the present-day Hollywood, he adheres to his picture of a womanizer. and is somewhat reluctant to emerge from his storeroom, assuming that you are being kept in the storage room due to shut disapproved of family and blockheads in the public eye. Then that is something. Needed to stop Wendy's rule on daytime television, since she was expressing her real thoughts, and realizing that the media symbol was pondering sending off her digital broadcast with another piece of tattles, was terrible to many. Well, Diddy was unquestionably terrified by this point of view, since it implied more openness for him by and by it, with saying that is all that you cover, as well as you began revealing insight into our way of life. Many individuals accept that Wendy's declining well-being may really be executed, and on the grounds that the quick difference in her apparently steady prosperity to not having the option to stroll without help and later winding up hospitalized was very surprising, as one individual remarked Wendy Williams isn't sane. And she's in chronic frailty. She wants time to recuperate and mend gifts to Miss Williams and her group. And her we wish her, and another client added, unfortunate Wendy. I don't believe she will make it. Well, it appears as though there's no individual in Hollywood who was friendly with Wendy due to her harsh tone. And this woman had spilled a ton of filthy mysteries throughout the long periods of reigning in her purple seed. Obviously, specific individuals needed her out for the good of their own. Anyway, certain individuals near the television diva suspect that the genuine offender of her horrendous condition was disturbing her well-being from within, and better believe it. I'm discussing her ex-Kevin Tracker, who knows dubiously much about Wendy's actual diseases. This is harmed, so you need to, feed it and support it the correct way. It's a vital piece of your endocrine situation. It doesn't work right, you bug out. He family show among Kevin and Wendy had been one of the most chaotic in the business. And this man certainly had an adequate number of motivations to wish his ex to fly off the handle or even lose her life. As you probably are aware, their at first neighborly and apparently quiet separation went south when Kevin blamed Wendy for keeping his piece of their common riches and prosecuted things, which, as you most likely are aware, was a very remarkable accomplishment for him. What was the most enraging part of the entire dramatization here for Kevin is that he truly accepted that he was qualified for his portion of Wendy's millions. And as this man expressed in one of his meetings, as the spouse for 20 or more years, and the maker of the Wendy Williams show, I was qualified for my half of all that we had, very much like some other couple separating from enormous kid. Kevin truly relied on these divorce settlement installments, as he wanted to accommodate his lavish existence with his Corson turned life partner Serena Hudson, with Wendy's liberal gifts anyway. Since the minute his expectations for quick and simple enhancement broke into pieces, Kevin started plotting against his ex-reasoning of by what other means he could get regulated in some kind of division to manage any sort of emergency or any sort of help. And it seems like each individual who was wishing Wendy or got what they needed, has Kevin Jur, Wendy's just child, uncovered his mom's well-being, has declined since she had been living with him in Florida from late 2021 until the spring of 2022. And in his uncommon meeting with the U.S. Sonny, shared his vision on individuals, encompassing Wendy. I never need to disgrace anyone, yet concerning inquiring as to whether that individual is there so my mother can be the best individual and have a long vocation, stuff like that. They are in it. For that at last Kevin Jur currently demands that his mom totally shouldn't have worked, she shouldn't proceed to work, and she ought to zero in on her well-being and her recuperation. And above all, she ought to be disengaged from all the evil impact, since it'll bothers her delicate condition crying, and having an old-fashioned time in my own head saying, "Oh, Wendy, you've forever areas of strength for Ben, this is your time." But at this point that Wendy's just child, Kevin Jur, is close to her, we should save our high expects the media character to be safeguarded from every one of the vultures who are hanging tight for her to fall. Many fans are wishing Wendy only a fast recuperation. And it seems like they all concur that Miss Wendy ought to avoid the spotlight for the well-being of her own. As one individual remarked, she most certainly needn't bother with to be back on television or a piece of any exposure. She's been wiped out for a long, well, I don't have the foggiest idea why they even kept her up here and running as long as they did. And another client added, Wendy has been looking sick for a very long time. I supplicate she improves. And most certainly does another show I don't watch, Sherry's show.